Time to say goodbye to our gate of 30 years. It's bulk pickup time, and hopefully it'll have a good life as whatever it gets recycled into. So long, gate. It's been nice knowing you. Our new gate's got to keep our critters in. It's also going to protect visiting critters like the Duffy dog. Alright, this is the pattern for the decoration that's going above the gate that I've completed. I've drawn it out onto a piece of 4x8 by 1/8 inch metal plate. I'm going to get my plasma cutter going and start cutting this thing out. And we'll see how things go after that. See if I can get a picture of it this way. It's using symmetrical designs, and I'll begin cutting it out and we'll see how it goes. On these very complicated interior cut pieces that I've been working on, I've had some difficulties with warping of the metal because there's so much cutting and heat that goes on in such a close area. What I'm going to try and do with this piece is to cut out all of the interior cuts, and then when I finish doing that, I will come back in and try and cut out these cuts right here, which basically describe the exterior shape of what I'm cutting. So I'm going to try and cut this part out last and see if leaving the sheet, 4x8 sheet, intact and cutting out all of those little tiny interiors, and then coming out last and doing the big cutouts of the big negative shapes like this one here and that one over there will make a difference. And the warping, I've also gone from a 14 gauge to an 11 gauge or 1/8 inch sheet, which should also help, but it's still a whole lot of interior cuts, as you can see just looking at the rest of the pattern I have laid out here. So we will see how that works as the piece progresses along. It's hard to tell just from what I've cut so far, but it looks like it might help out, and it's an interesting theory, so we'll give it a shot. Alright, well, I've sped this video up so we can get through a little bit faster. It's just a video of cutting out the pattern for the branches out of the sheet metal. It's going about 4 times faster than normal, which would be great if I could do the same thing. But I can't. Anyway, and make it easier for the viewer to check out and having to go through the entire process in real time. You can observe I've got a vent hose there to take fumes out as I'm cutting. Also wearing a respirator to protect my lungs from the nasty fumes that come off of melted metal from the plasma cutter. Also got my nice shades on there to protect my eyeballs from any kind of damage. It's kind of fun to do the plasma cutting and kind of get in a groove and a rhythm when you're doing this many cutouts. And now after I get them all cut out, it's time to move on to grinding and other parts and get some painting done. Right, this is the design for the magnolia that we're putting on top of our gate, and I needed to make several of them using my plasma cutter. So I needed to make a form here that I could use as a template to cut these out, so I get reasonably the same thing as I cut them out. I don't have to do a lot of adjusting. It takes a little bit of grinding afterwards. But this was the poster board pattern. In order to run the plasma torch gun around this template that I've got here and cut out stuff, I had to take this pattern and I laid it on top of a piece of paper and essentially figured out a pathway for the where I need to cut out this MDF board so that the torch can ride just like this and have a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch before the tip contacts the metal. So as long as I'm following this guide, I can get a pretty decent cut. So I'm going to do one here just as a demo, and we'll see how it works. I'm going to hook up the plasma cutter. It's already on. Looks like everything's cool there. Need to get my goggles. Okay. Glass up. Okay, so what you do, if this goes in here, the first thing that happens is you make a piercing cut, but I keep this up against the template as I do it, and hopefully I get a decent cut. So. Take certain pieces out of here first, and then part come out, and I'll cut this section up. And I think I got there against
Mm-hmm.